Welcome to annual symposium of the Environmental Sustainability Rotary Action Group, ESRAG's Rotary Pre-Convention event, The New Environment. I'm Yaşar Atacık, ESRAG Secretary and the moderator of this session on circular economy. This is session 2 of circular economy. Our second speaker is Ebru Debbag. Ebru will tell us about sustainability in textiles. Ebru Debbag has more than 30 years experience in fashion supply chain and is currently consulting the global industry stakeholders in their transition to circularity through her platform, Indigo Friends, which is based in New York City and Istanbul. Ebru is a textile engineer, and she is also a part of the Singular University Network since 2016. Notable is Ebru's 27 years in Orta Anadolu, a leading jean manufacturer where she has led global sales, marketing, product development, and R&D roles. She's currently leading sales, marketing, and sustainability roles of Sorti Enterprise based in Pakistan. In her role, Ebru leads a global team which develops solutions for leading denim brands and retailers to engage in marketplace where innovative, sustainable products and services are essential and where people matter. Ebru believes that fashion could become a force of good to change the lives of people and the planet for the better, and is sharing her experience with global stakeholders to design and implement social missions integrated into business using nature's regeneration as a model. Ebru is a co-founder at Perma-Türk Foundation and uses often permaculture-based principles as business solutions. If you have any questions, please leave them in the webinar Q&A. The stage is yours, Ebru.
Thank you, Yaşar. It's my pleasure to be here at the annual symposium of ESRAG, and I thank you for the opportunity to bring more light into the impact textiles have for a new environment. We're here to look at the problems, not only the symptoms, and understand how the fashion supply chain is interconnected with our global challenges. In order to achieve this, we need to see fashion as a global system, of course, with its interconnections. As we look at fashion as a system, we are then able to define the economic, social, and environmental links of the production, the use of our clothes, and the climate crisis. Fashion has never been fully sustainable, as it serves one of the main functions of capitalism. Society uses fashion as an expression, and the clothing industry has been constructed to serve this concept of fashion. We need to transform the fashion supply chain to serve the needs of the society. Fast fashion brands produce 20 collections a year, and the society in pursuit to express their individuality can never achieve this. The items that we buy from fast fashion brands become obsolete the moment we walk out of the store with our shopping bag. I would like to share some crucial statistics to present how interlinked fashion is to our everyday lives. We're talking about a huge industry. It's $2.5 trillion worth. It's the second highest user of water resources, and it's renowned as the second highest polluter. Climate racism, dependency on fuel-based resources, and fashion are mostly not considered to be related. But today's reality demands that we understand the interconnections to offer the right solutions. So let's look at fashion impact and fast consumption and fast production, and how we're really like living through these concepts actually. Again, some important statistics. As a recent report by McKinsey shows, fashion industry emits 2.1 billion tons of greenhouse gases, which account for 4% of the total global emissions. Fashion industry's emissions equal to the total emissions of France, Germany, and England put together. If no immediate global action is taken, it will not be possible to meet the Paris Agreement targets, and by 2030, the total emissions will reach 2 times the emissions of today. So we have to set our targets really well. The industry surpassed 100 billion pieces of clothing in 2010, and since then, it's really forecasted that the industry is producing 150 billion clothes every year. And the current numbers, the trajectory shows that by 2030, there will be an increase of 63%. Since year 2000, clothing production increased 2-fold, whereas use of one piece of clothing decreased by half. So this kind of presents the picture already. And again, some very important facts. Every second, there's a truckload of textiles becoming landfill. 30% of the 150 billion clothes produced every year never reach the stores. And we've also seen that there's a surge in the e-commerce area, fashion-related e-commerce area. And the recent studies show that there's 40% returns, which accounts for transportation, logistics, and packaging as well. We do not wake up to put on a few barrels of oil. And yet, this is what we are exactly doing each morning as we dress to go out. You may want to take a look at the labels on your clothes, and you will mostly see that they are made up of polyester, polyamide, nylon, which accounts for the 63% of fibers used in the fashion industry. All of them are coming from actually fuel-based resources. Cotton is the second biggest fiber, accounting for 24% of the global fiber use. Cotton is the world's largest non-food crop, grown for trade by more than 80 countries. However, production is concentrated in just 6 countries: China, India, Australia, Brazil, US, and Pakistan, that altogether actually make 80% of the cotton production, global production. As well as being a thirsty crop, cotton cultivation uses lots of chemicals. 4% of the world pesticides and 10% of insecticides are used in cotton growing. These inputs can pollute local ecosystems and drinking water supplies. Recent studies, however, show that if cotton is cultivated with regenerative methods, it can actually draw down carbon up to 15 million tons of emissions. Despite the well-aired public mantra of reduce, reuse, recycle, it is estimated that the fashion industry creates around 13 kilograms of fashion waste for every person on the planet every year. That waste is equivalent to a landmass larger than the size of France. The average piece of clothing lasts for 3.3 years before being discarded. China banned imports of textile waste at the end of year 2017, and possible textile landfill bans may emerge in Europe. Actually, they are emerging as we speak. So when we look at the numbers, 12% of the waste is downcycled, which means that the materials are disassembled to be used in some other way than textiles, and only 1% of the fashion waste is actually recycled. 73% is either landfilled or incinerated. We cannot live with the fast fashion impact. In 2018, H&M had a $4.3 billion worth of overproduction, and they didn't know what to do with it. Before looking at how the industry impacts ecosystems, I would like to ask a few questions just to keep in mind. Can we reverse industry's operations to help soil health, build resilient communities, invite partnerships? 2 billion people live in areas with water scarcity. Fashion industry uses 76 billion tons of water, as we mentioned, being the second biggest user of water as an industry. Fresh water use is also an impact area for our ecosystems. Textile coloring and treatment releases toxic chemicals in water supplies, and these have hazardous impacts on the environment. Around 8,000 synthetic chemicals are used in the fashion, textile, and footwear industry to turn raw materials into final products. Not only do these chemicals pose health hazards to the people who work with them, especially if they're not using protective equipment, many of these chemicals also end up in freshwater systems. In 2012, testing of more than 100 garments from 20 major fashion labels sold in 29 countries showed that all brands had hazardous chemicals in some of their items. We have a long way to go. If the fashion industry were a country, it would be the 6th largest emitter of greenhouse gases in the world, behind China, the US, EU, India, and Russia. It is estimated that around 2/3 of the harmful climate impact over the lifetime of a garment comes at the raw materials stage. Chief culprit are rayon fibers, such as viscose. And according to Forest Protection Organization Canopy, more than 150 million trees are cut down every year to manufacture cellulosic fibers, with 30% coming from ancient and endangered forests. One pair of jeans release 56,000 microfibers in one wash. And actually, new jeans shed more fibers as they're exposed to more industrial processes. There's a myth about recycled polyester. Actually, rPET, which is branded recycled polyester, is not textile to textile recycling. It's actually downcycling because it's coming from discarded plastic bottles instead of textile to textile recycling. So we are seeing how fashion is impacting ecosystems. And of course, all these also have an impact on human health, and people working in the textile industry, they're actually exposed to the chemicals directly, and the water resources in the production areas are also polluted. Our clothes are our second skin, and we do not give much thought on how they're produced and what they're made up of. Clean Clothes Campaign research presents that only 3% of the price tag is paid as labor. We have also seen during the pandemic, once again, that the most vulnerable part of the value chain is actually the labor force. So let's look at how we can actually offer solutions and a roadmap. Here, the Sustainable Development Goals provide a definite guideline for the industry's transformation. I've also tried to summarize an action plan which most stakeholders of the industry have started using in their progress, in their transformation. So, we will look at a couple of points: implementing circular business models, innovating raw materials and processes, educating consumers, transparency, track and trace, zero waste, how we can achieve the concept of zero waste, partnerships. All these initiatives will need to have the human element at the core. So that is really crucial. So when we talk about implementing a circular business model, we're actually talking about a system which respects finite resources and targets profit over limitless growth, seeks reliable and consistent profits, so the system becomes more resilient. Renewable and efficient resource use is of concern. Quality goods and services that do not contain toxic ingredients, smart consumers, traceable and fair value chain, which again focuses on the human element. This is a pyramid showing how we can use the progressing circular ladder. So if we look at the top of the pyramid, we're seeing refuse as the first item. So we have to actually question making a product redundant by abandoning its function or by providing the same function in a different way. I think this kind of attitude will reflect all throughout the pyramid. And actually the hype on recycling, as we see, it's quite below down the pyramid. So the second kind of, area that we can really work on is to innovate raw materials and processes. Sustainable cotton production, man-made fibers, other natural fibers like hemp, certified processes, clean laundry processes, regenerative fibers, textile innovation, and biomimicry are some of the examples we can provide. Closed loop man-made fibers such as Tencel, biodegradable elastane are also the recent progressive developments which are in use. So the biomimicry area offers us the possibility of bacteria-dyed fabrics, lab-grown leather, and these are all developed in collaboration with academia. So we're also seeing industry and the academia getting together. It's very important for us, for the industry stakeholders, to educate and inform consumers. So consumers have the chance to make more informed decisions when they purchase and use garments. It's very important to consider how we use our garments, for instance, how we wash our garments. Changing our washing habits and stopping can cut down emissions, save water, and stop microfiber shedding. Wearing a garment 9 months longer actually reduces emissions by 27% and reduces water consumption by 33%. For recycling to work, it's very important that we do not cut the labels in the garments. The current fashion system provides many tracking possibilities from field to market. Fashion Revolutions campaigns with the use of their social media hashtag projects have also enabled us to recognize the workforce behind the fashion industry. They've used pay up hashtag as a very important element during the pandemic period. So I really like to mention how Virgil Abloh looks waste, and he says waste is a design problem, and this defines the zero waste concept, actually, how we can approach the zero waste concept, because it's also requiring a new kind of way to look at waste. So when waste is considered as a design problem, we can then redesign the system to really avoid making waste. The current fashion landscape is designing waste out through new profit business models that keep clothes in use longer. It's also redefining how we design fashion in the first place. So there are a couple of different methods we can really use, like rental, subscription, resale, and swapping models. Here, product actually becomes a service. And I'll give a few examples here. Mud Jeans leases jeans for a deposit of 20 euros and monthly payments if you prefer. Then at the end of the 12-month period, you can either purchase the jeans or return it to Mud Jeans, and they will recycle it into new jeans, actually. Another product as a service possibility is digital fashion, where no actual garments are needed to strike a pose on social media. And this is becoming really very popular with the Gen Z, young generations. Resale platforms have gained momentum and are saving fashion from landfills as well. Resale platforms enable clothes to stay in use longer and also change consumer behavior. Resale fashion is expected to reach $64 billion by year 2040. Secondhand actually steals more share of wallet than any other sector for the 4th year in a row. And there are many platforms coming up every year. Repair and mending is a part of the solutions. And here, for instance, I would like to give an example from Nudie Jeans that provide a lifelong repair for the jeans they sell. Eileen Fisher is another brand offering actually a totally new brand. They're calling it Renew. And this is discarded clothes of Eileen Fisher brand. And they are scanned and repaired and sold as the Eileen Fisher Renew brand. Patagonia also has a similar platform, and they're actually promoting the use of the sales of secondhand clothes over the virgin ones. Upcycling is another process to keep clothes longer in use. Clothes and materials which would otherwise be waste are kept in use as they're transformed into another piece of clothing. One example is Tauko in Helsinki. The brand transforms old t-shirts into sweatshirts. So design for longevity will change the system. How we design waste out will require raw materials, cutting, sewing operations, and using stages to be integrated into closed loop design. This is also very important. And we're seeing very unusual partnerships. Partnerships are a main function of circular economy, circular design. And here, actually, competition is becoming cooperation. And we are seeing rival brands moving towards a more sustainable collection in partnership and offering each other's brands through their sales channels. So how should the fashion industry be setting their targets? This is something crucial. Brands and retailers and all stakeholders need to work with data. And fashion supply chain actually has never been too fond of working with numbers. So this is not really in the nature of the industry. We cannot improve what we do not measure. So this is something very crucial we need to integrate into the circular business model. And this will provide also feedback loops that we can learn from based on science-based targets, which will provide us the right data and the right base to make the improvements. So this should be the actually main criteria, one of the main criteria that we are looking for in the transformation of the industry. I would actually like to invite all of you to consider fashion with a fresh eye. So could fashion be an industry that operates not really on slavery, not on ecosystem pollution, and natural resource depletion, but could become a value chain where creativity, mindfulness, technology can help us to see global human and ecosystem relations. Fashion can be an agent to draw down emissions and act as a solution for our global challenges. I would actually like to finish with a quote from Alexander McQueen, where he said, there is no better designer than nature itself. And I think we have a long way to go, but again, solutions reside where problems exist. So I am looking at the future of the fashion industry with hope and with passion. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ebru, for this great presentation. And now we have some questions and we'll look into them and ask you to answer, time permitting. So here's the question to you. There is a lot of talk about reducing the production of cattle and other animals. What is the use of leather in the needs for the industry in coats and shoes?
Very good question. Actually, the industry has been looking at replacing leather, like, you know, when we discuss about that pyramid and looking at the first criteria, which is refuse, which tells us to look at materials as well. So if we can find an alternative to leather, we should be using that alternative. So a lot of startups actually are looking into this problem and solution. So lab-grown leather, like there's an amazing company called Witro working on lab-grown leather. And there are also some other alternatives like using apple skins, using orange skins, using mycelium. So all these startups have been tackling this issue for the past 5 years. And I think we're going to see the scaling in the next coming 5 years. So we won't need to really use animal-based leather for our shoes or handbags or outerwear anymore.
Okay, thank you. You spoke of microfibers. So here's a question about microfibers. Is there any way of reducing the microfibers from textiles liberated from washing, cleaning, and drying?
Actually, there's, again, a new development called the Guppy bag, which is a bag that you put your clothes in as you put them in your washing machine. And this bag actually kind of holds on to the microfibers. This is one solution. And also I know that a lot of the companies, washing machine producers are actually working on filters that can cut down fibers entering our water systems. But if we look at the industry, actually this shedding, microfiber shedding, is coming not only from polyester, but it's also coming from cotton and even natural fibers. So here, it's very important, again, we need to design for longevity and we need to design for anti-shedding of fibers. We need strengthen the fibers to eliminate the shedding in the first place.
Okay, thank you. There is another question, and that's about, do you have any comments about accessories?
Accessories is another part to really look at in depth, I would say. I used cradle to cradle as an example. I can use cradle to cradle certification as an example, because the cradle to cradle certification, for instance, informs you that you should use accessories which should become biodegradable. So it's a very rigorous certification that demands a certain type of accessory use. Again, we have to go back to how we design garments, what kind of accessories we use, if we need accessories in the first place. So all these are coming up as questions that we need to ask throughout the value chain, and especially taking designers on board and really bringing designers together with the consumers so that we can have a better understanding of what we're looking at. I mean, accessories has not been a major focus point in the industry as yet, but there's a lot of talk. And again, you know, that was the reason why I mentioned cradle to cradle. So if certifications become common practice, certifications like cradle to cradle become common practice, then the industry will need to find an answer for that as well.
Thank you. Just one final question. You have a lot of experience in the industry. To realize what you consider here, what role do you think the government should play?
Very good question again. We will be seeing legislation playing a big role in the coming years. again, like countries do not want waste in their backyard. They have to figure out how to really handle fashion waste. And we have to look at where fashion is used the most. And we see that the use is actually in more developed countries. So, you know, we will see more and more legislations, protective legislations coming up. And this is, you know, I mean, with the new Green Deal, the new Green Agreement, we will be having a global border, cross-border carbon tax issue, for instance. So this is going to be a lot of new negotiations, partnerships between countries. I just learned today, one of the biggest producers in a brand in Europe, CNA, they have opened up a factory in Germany. So, you know, I mean, when all these legislations regarding waste, regarding emissions are concerned, again, we will see new models emerging. So it will be a big part of the circular transformation and how we look at partnerships and the industry.
Okay, I think we'll stop here. Thank you for coming and sharing your insights into the sustainability of textile industry. Thank you for your fantastic presentation.
Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye.